got a non-binary crime wave on our hands, at least at Columbia University, the supposedly elite New York university that's part of the Ivy League that just had another illegal riot slash protest from anti-Israel protesters who took over their library and scared students and disrupted them during finals week. Well, a really interesting report just came out from Jonathan Levine of the Washington Free Beacon, where he found, and this will shock you, disproportionate non-binary representation among the alleged Columbia criminals. 11% of Columbia library arrestees identify as they/them, nearly 7 times America's trans population. Marco Rubio says he's reviewing foreign nationals arrested following the raid, putting one they/them student born in Vietnam at risk. Levine writes, "It's a they-tifada, like Antifada, but they, I guess. At least 9 of the 81 people, or 11%, arrested in connection with storming a Columbia University library Wednesday used they/them pronouns, a review of public records by the Washington Free Beacon shows. That share is well above the 1.6% of Americans who identify as transgender or non-binary, according to the Pew Research Center, and more than double the 5% of people who identify as transgender or non-binary under 30. Now, if anything, these comparisons are a massive underestimate because of that small percentage of the population that identifies as transgender, most of those are transsexual people who identify as a sex that isn't the one they were born at birth, but it are either, men or women in their identity, not they, them, not non-binary. So if anything, it's even more extraordinary overrepresentation than what this report suggests. And the reporter who wrote this story, Levine, covered and specifically profiled several of the arrestees with their they/them pronouns. One of those is a woman named Can Don, they/she, who was arrested at Columbia last week. She was born in Vietnam and wants to write her senior thesis on the Gaza Solidarity encampment. Well, encampments are illegal, by the way. You have the right to free speech, to protest, to make your voice heard, but you don't have the right to take over buildings and deny people access and disrupt the public. That's a crime. And so doing your thesis on something where you're admitting to crimes is probably not the best thing. And I've been very critical of the push by the Trump administration to revoke student visas because of people's opinions. We'll talk about that. But if you're doing literal crimes like taking over buildings, assaulting cops, these kinds of things that are illegal, your student visa should be revoked and you should be sent back to your home country. And maybe you can complete that thesis virtually then, babe. I don't know. But look, this story is really not that deep. I just thought it was a funny update on the Columbia chaos that we covered last week. And I also just have to say, Blair White has pointed this out, you will never find a non-binary Republican because it is not an immutable demographic trait like being gay or being black or anything else. It's a political identity. It's a fad that's incoherent at its core. And I will never get over the fact that people want to put that on some sort of level playing field with me and others like me because of who we are, with this radical chic fad that's inseparably intertwined with radical left-wing politics. But that's just my take. Y'all let me know what you think of these they/thems in the comments below.